Hey, what's up, my friends? There are two things that I wish I would have known about this hose reel before I bought it. I'm going to talk about those two things in just a second. First, I'm just going to talk about some of the features so that you can understand what it is and how it works. So first off, obviously, this is a really cool thing where you don't have to have a huge mess of hose in your backyard. This thing manages your hose for you. There are 250 feet of hose inside of this thing. So it's relatively low space for the amount of hose that you get at it. We can reach every area of our yard from this single hose, and that's really cool. It's a nice thin polyurethane hose, so the thinness, the size of it is what allows them to put so much hose inside of this little container. It is completely enclosed, so it keeps the hose in good shape. It doesn't get sun damaged, all that sort of stuff. It obviously comes with a nice spraying nozzle that has a ton of different settings, and it's a thumb-operated spraying nozzle rather than having to hold a trigger down all of the time. I really like this. Also, these often get damaged in our yard, but they don't on this thing because this keeps it up off of the ground and people aren't dropping it onto the ground you know, that sort of stuff. Now, one of the things that I talked about that I wish I would have known, it does have some weight to it. So when you're thinking about where you're going to mount this thing, you really got to make a good decision based off of that. I've literally mounted it into the masonry right here of the side of our outdoor kitchen, and just drilled some holes with a mason bit and then used some anchors to make sure that it's anchored in really good. So if you're going to anchor this to your house or a post or something like that, it just needs to be really sturdy and done really well in order for it to work well, because you do some yanking on this thing. It also swivels, so that shifts the weight around. There's just a lot to consider when you think about where you're going to mount this thing. But once you have it mounted, nothing compares to the experience from my perspective of having it on a housing like this. Obviously it swivels 90 degrees. It doesn't quite swivel 90 degrees for me because it hits this countertop right here, and then it also hits the bush, but this was the best location for me to put it in for us. You also have this short, about 4-foot hose right here. This is the connecting hose that comes with it, and it's connected into the house water right there. Now, you don't have to use this connecting hose. So if you've got to put this further away from a faucet or a hose bib, you just would have to use a different hose to hook it up to the side. These are nice, really nice connectors on the connecting hose. They're really nice and tight, and you can wrench them down with a wrench. You're gonna wanna do that. Take a nice channel lock or a crescent wrench or something and really tighten this down. Otherwise it will leak if you don't have it nice and tight. So that's something that I learned the hard way. So the swivel action is really nice. It does come off of this bracket right here with just one single screw, and then you can lift the whole unit off the bracket for mounting, or if you need to do any maintenance or move it or anything like that. So that's a really helpful feature as well. When you're operating the actual hose, so it has this cool stop right here. That's how it's, keeps this amount of hose out all the time so that you can grab onto. When you pull the hose out, what you want to do is you pull as much hose as you think you're going to want to use, and then once you get to that point, you just let it go back a little bit and it locks. Now, if you need to pull more hose, you can just pull more hose, but then sometimes you have to work with it to lock. So you have to do a little tug to get it to lock. That's the second thing. It took me forever to figure out how to pull more hose, but then have it keep locking. So you can't just pull the hose out. You got to pull and then do another little pull to get it to lock. Sometimes it's tricky. There we go. So it's just one of those user things. Now I'm used to it, so takes a couple tugs, not a big deal, no issue. It has this little thing in here that rotates on a bar, or that not rotates, but oscillates. So when the hose goes in, it actually moves back and forth, so the hose winds in evenly rather than having some jumbled mess inside the actual housing, which is really, really cool. And then of course, when you're ready to put the hose away, you just give it a little forward tug and then it goes back in. Now, don't let this thing just whip in. We've also noticed that, and it goes a little bit crazy when we just let the hose go. So you do want to follow the hose with a little bit of tension in. So one, so that it reels up really nice, doesn't damage the hose, and that this thing doesn't hit the housing of the reel really hard. So you do want to just attend to that so you don't ruin it. And keep it nice and in good working condition for a long time. I've absolutely loved having this thing in our backyard. It is an essential now. We used to just have a mess of hoses everywhere, and this thing has helped me maintain our hoses so much better. I'm really grateful for it, and I hope you like it as much as we do. Peace.